A millionaire CEO saw a poor little girl sleeping at a bus stop, which he did the next day. The night air was sharp with the chill of early spring as the city buzzed with its usual late-hour hum. Streetlights cast golden halos over empty sidewalks, and the occasional car whooshed by on wet asphalt. In the heart of downtown, where sleek high-rises towered over forgotten alleyways, a black limousine slowed near a bus stop that was barely more than a metal bench under a flickering street lamp. Inside the limousine, Nathaniel Cross, CEO of Crosstech Industries, sat staring blankly out the window. He was a man used to power, control, and precision. His tailored suit, the luxury of his ride, the glowing blue of his watch screen showing every minute scheduled. But something made him look up from his tablet that night. There, curled up on the cold bench beneath the flickering light, was a little girl. Her small frame was wrapped in an oversized hoodie, dirt smudged across her cheeks, shoes worn and mismatched. Her dark curls formed a halo around her face as she slept fitfully, arms clutching a thin stuffed rabbit to her chest. Nathaniel's chest tightened. He signaled to his driver. "Stop here." "Sir?" The driver hesitated, confused. "We're nearly at the Ritz, your dinner reservation." "Stop the car," Nathaniel repeated, his tone brooking no argument. The limo pulled over. Nathaniel stepped out, the chill catching him by surprise. He walked slowly toward the bench, every step feeling strangely heavy. He didn't know what had drawn him so suddenly, only that he couldn't look away. The girl stirred as his shadow passed over her. Her eyes fluttered open, blinking against the light. They were deep brown, impossibly familiar, filled with a wary strength that seemed too old for her age. "Hey," Nathaniel said softly, crouching to her level. "Are you okay?" She sat up quickly, pulling her hoodie tighter. "I'm fine," she said, her voice rough with sleep. "I'm just waiting for my mom." "At this hour?" He glanced around. There were no signs of anyone nearby. "Where is she?" The girl didn't answer. She looked away, jaw clenched. Nathaniel studied her. Something about her face, her eyes, her nose. It stirred something in his memory. A distant echo. But that couldn't be. He shook the thought away. "Do you have somewhere safe to go?" he asked. The girl stood, clearly ready to bolt. "I said I'm fine." Nathaniel stepped back, not wanting to scare her. "Okay, but if you need anything, I can help." She hesitated, then turned and disappeared down the street, clutching the rabbit close. Nathaniel stood there for a long time, heart pounding. He didn't know her. He'd never seen her before, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that he had. The next morning, he drove to that same bench. But this time, she was gone. Nathaniel sat in the back of his limo, parked across from the empty bus stop. His coffee had gone cold in his hand. The girl was nowhere to be found, and it left an uneasy hollow in his chest. He wasn't a man prone to emotions. His world revolved around numbers, contracts, and polished boardrooms, but this had shaken something loose. He stepped out again, scanning the sidewalks. Pedestrians passed without noticing him, their faces lost in phones and morning rush. He crossed the street to the bench. The only trace of her was a single small thread of pink yarn stuck to the metal. He ran his fingers over it, then looked up at the security camera mounted on a lamppost nearby. "Get me the city's footage from last night," he ordered into his phone. "Bus stop at 9th and Grand, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. "Sir?" his assistant replied, confused. "What? Just do it." "I'll explain later." He didn't return to his office that morning. Instead, he made his way to the police precinct, where his connections opened doors most people couldn't touch. An hour later, he sat in front of a grainy video feed, fast-forwarding through hours of silence. Then there she was, the girl. She appeared just before midnight, walking slowly down the sidewalk with the stuffed rabbit in her arms. She looked over her shoulder twice, then settled onto the bench. Nathaniel leaned closer. Another figure appeared on screen. A woman, thin, shaky, eyes darting. She was holding a paper bag. She argued with the girl, gesturing wildly. Then she shoved something into the girl's hands and stormed away. The girl sat there, unmoving, watching her mother vanish into the shadows. Nathaniel froze the frame, zoomed in. The woman's face, Something about it scratched at the back of his mind. He stood abruptly. "Can I get a copy of this?" "Of course, Mr. Cross." Outside, the spring air felt heavier than before. Nathaniel got into his car, eyes still on the printed image of the woman's face. His voice was low. "Have HR send me the employee archives from the past 20 years. I want every file from our Los Angeles headquarters." "Looking for someone in particular?" his assistant asked. "Yes," he replied, jaw clenched, "but I don't know her name." He couldn't shake the feeling. That woman, that little girl, somehow they were connected to a chapter of his life he thought long buried. And if the faint resemblance in the girl's face was what he feared, then this wasn't just about kindness or curiosity anymore. It was personal. Back in his office, Nathaniel sat at his massive glass desk, barely noticing the skyline view behind him. A sleek laptop hummed open in front of him, and beside it, a thick stack of printed employee records waited. His assistant had moved heaven and earth to assemble the files overnight. Crosstech had employed thousands over the years, but Nathaniel wasn't looking for a name. He was looking for a face. He flipped through photo after photo, fingers moving faster with each page. Marketing analysts, junior developers, receptionists, none of them matched. Until his hand paused. There, a woman named Elena Mendez. Her ID photo was older, hair longer and darker, but the eyes, the shape of her mouth. It was her. "Find out where she lives," he barked into the phone, "and if she has any children." There was a pause. "Sir, she died 3 years ago. Overdose." The words hit like a hammer. Nathaniel sat back, breath caught in his throat. "Any records of family? Relatives?" "She had one emergency contact, her mother, a Maria Mendez, lives in South Central. I want her address, now." That afternoon, Nathaniel drove himself, a rare choice for a man of his wealth. His sleek black Jaguar cut through the streets until the glimmering skyline gave way to narrow alleys and rusted fences. He parked across from a rundown apartment building where laundry hung on wires and graffiti coated the walls. He climbed the stairs slowly, his heart thudding louder with each step. Unit 3B. He knocked. The door creaked open, and an older woman peered out. Her face was lined, her eyes tired. "Maria Mendez." She studied him warily. "Who's asking?" "My name is Nathaniel Cross. I'm here about Elena, your daughter." Her eyes flickered, pain, suspicion. She stepped outside, closing the door behind her. "Elena's gone," she said. "You're 3 years too late." "I know," he said quietly. "But I think I saw her daughter yesterday." The woman's eyes narrowed. "You saw Valentina?" Nathaniel's heart stumbled. "Valentina? A name?" "I think so. She was sleeping on a bench downtown." Maria looked away. "That girl doesn't listen. She runs off, says she's looking for her mum. I'm too old to chase after her. She's stubborn like her mother." Nathaniel took a breath. "Is she mine?" Maria's gaze snapped back to his, hard as flint. "You don't get to ask that now." "I didn't know," he said. "I never knew Elena was pregnant. She never told me." "That's convenient. I want to help her." "She doesn't need your help. She needs her mother. But she's gone. And now Valentina thinks the world owes her something because it's not fair." "She looks like me," Nathaniel whispered. Maria's face softened, just barely. "She has your eyes. I told Elena not to go to you, but she never listened either." Nathaniel's hands shook. "Where is she now?" Maria hesitated, then looked toward the staircase. "She might still be downtown. She always goes back there. To the bench." Nathaniel turned, already heading down the steps. He had to find her again. This time, he wouldn't let her go. The sun was beginning to dip behind the skyline as Nathaniel parked once again across from the bus stop. Shadows stretched long over the pavement, and the hum of the city felt more distant this time. He scanned the sidewalk, heart hammering in his chest, and then there she was. Valentina sat on the same bench, hugging her knees, her stuffed rabbit balanced carefully on her lap. Her eyes were fixed on the sidewalk, but the moment Nathaniel stepped out of the car, her gaze shot up. She recognized him instantly. "You again," she said, standing quickly. "Why are you following me?" "I'm not," he said, voice calm but urgent. "I was worried about you." "I don't need your worry." "I know," he said, "but I need to talk to you. Please." She hesitated. Her stance was defensive, one foot already angled to run. "You're not a cop, are you?" "No." I'm someone who might know more about you than you think." She narrowed her eyes. "That's creepy." "I knew your mother." Valentina froze. Her expression cracked for a split second before she masked it again. "You knew her?" "Yes, a long time ago. Her name was Elena." Valentina's grip on the rabbit tightened. "She's dead." "I know," he said gently. "I found out today." Her chin quivered slightly, but she set her jaw. "Why do you care?" Nathaniel knelt down slowly, not wanting to scare her off. "Because I think I might be your father." The words hung in the air between them like smoke. For a long moment, she didn't move, didn't blink. Then she laughed, a bitter, angry sound. "That's rich," she said. "You think you're my dad? Just like that?" "I'm not trying to confuse you, I swear. I only just found out Elena worked for my company. I never knew she had a child." Valentina's voice was low. "She used to talk about someone, said he didn't care, that he left." "I didn't know," Nathaniel said again. "If I had, She cut him off. "You would have what? Bought me a house? A car?" "No," he said quietly. "I would have been there." She looked away, eyes brimming but refusing to let a tear fall. "You don't know what it's been like." "I want to," he said, "if you let me." Valentina backed up a step, clutching her rabbit. "You say you're my dad, but you don't even know me." "Then let me try," he said. She turned, running down the sidewalk, her hoodie flapping behind her. Nathaniel stood up slowly. He didn't chase her this time, but he would come back tomorrow, and the day after, and every day after that. Because now, he knew the truth, and he wouldn't lose her again. That night, Nathaniel returned to his penthouse, but it didn't feel like home. The panoramic view of the glittering skyline, the sleek furniture, the quiet hum of his curated life, it all felt hollow now. He stood at the window, staring down at the city where his daughter, was somewhere alone. Cold, angry, and rightly so. He barely slept. Memories of Elena came in waves, her laugh, the quiet confidence in her voice, the way she used to challenge him without fear. They had dated when he was just starting Crosstech, back when he still believed in love more than legacy. He'd ended it because he needed focus, order, control. She deserved more than to be a footnote in his ambition. Now, she was gone, and her daughter had been a ghost in his city until now. By morning, he was already dressed, black coat over a cashmere sweater, determined. But he didn't go to the office. He drove to the same bench again and waited. This time, Valentina showed up just before noon. She spotted him immediately but didn't run. She stood there, arms crossed. "You're really back." "I said I would be." "Why?" He looked at her. "Because I owe you that much, at least." She walked slowly toward the bench and sat down, not beside him but not far away. She kept her eyes on the street. "You think I want some rich guy showing up now pretending to care?" "I don't expect you to believe me," he said. "But I didn't know. And now that I do, I'm not leaving." She was quiet for a moment, then reached into the pocket of her hoodie and pulled out something, a wrinkled photograph. She handed it to him. It was Eleanor, younger, smiling, holding a tiny baby wrapped in a faded pink blanket. "She told me once," Valentina said, her voice cracking, "that you were too busy to be a father, that you chose your company over her." Nathaniel stared at the photo. His hand trembled. "She never told me she was pregnant." "She didn't trust you," he nodded. "I don't blame her." Valentina looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. Her eyes were so much like Elena's. "So, what now?" "I want to get to know you," he said, "only if you'll let me." She didn't respond right away. Then she shrugged. "I'm not moving into some fancy place. I wasn't going to ask you to." "I like pancakes," she said suddenly, "with chocolate chips." Nathaniel smiled for the first time in days. "Then let's start there." As they stood up, a voice called from across the street, "Valentina!" It was a man, mid-30s, in a leather jacket. His eyes locked onto Nathaniel with something close to fury. Valentina's face went pale. "You shouldn't be here," the man shouted, storming toward them. Nathaniel stepped in front of her instinctively. "Who is that?" Valentina whispered. "That's my mum's boyfriend, from before she died." And Nathaniel knew instantly that something darker lay buried beneath all of this. The man's steps were heavy as he crossed the street, fists clenched, jaw tight. His eyes never left Nathaniel. Valentina's shoulders hunched, and her hand gripped the back of Nathaniel's coat instinctively, like a reflex born from fear. "You got no business talking to her," the man growled, stopping just inches from Nathaniel. "She's not your problem." Nathaniel stood firm. "I believe she is. I'm her father." The man scoffed. "That's a joke. Elena never mentioned you. I was there when she died." You were a ghost." "I didn't know about her," Nathaniel replied evenly, "but now I do, and I'm not going anywhere." Valentina stepped between them. "Please don't fight." The man looked down at her, his face softening just slightly. "Come on, kid, let's go. You don't know this guy. You can't trust him." She stepped back, voice shaking. "I don't trust you either." That hit harder than any punch. The man flinched but tried to hide it. "I took care of you after your mom died. You yelled. You drank. You left me with your friends so you could disappear for days," she snapped. Nathaniel felt his pulse spike. The man's eyes flashed. "You little—" Nathaniel stepped forward. "If you touch her—" The man barked a humorless laugh. "Touch her? You think you get to talk to me like that? You think you can just show up, play the hero, and erase the last 3 years?" "I'm not erasing anything," Nathaniel said coldly, "but you're not taking her anywhere. She's not your property. She's not yours either." The tension crackled. Pedestrians started slowing, sensing a confrontation. A woman nearby took out her phone, discreetly recording. Valentina suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Both men turned to her. Her hands were shaking, her eyes bright with fury. "I'm not a prize you two get to fight over," she said. "I've spent years being ignored, left behind, or yelled at. I'm tired of it." She turned to the man in the leather jacket. "You don't get to pretend you care. You hurt me." "And I never forgot." His face twisted, but he said nothing. Then she turned to Nathaniel. "And you don't get to pretend either. You left her. You left both of us, even if you didn't know about me." Nathaniel opened his mouth, but no words came. Valentina took a step back. "I don't want to go with either of you right now. I just want to be alone." Then she turned and ran, again, disappearing down the alleyway between 2 buildings, her rabbit flopping at her side. Nathaniel stood frozen, the sound of his heartbeat thudding in his ears. The man beside him muttered, "You're not going to win this. You think money fixes everything. But that girl, she's broken, and that's not something you can buy." Then he walked away, leaving Nathaniel standing there, unsure whether he had just found his daughter or lost her all over again. Nathaniel spent the next hour searching the streets around the bus stop, calling Valentina's name, scanning every alley, corner, and shop front. The ache in his chest deepened with each unanswered call, each child that turned out not to be her. He hadn't felt this helpless in decades. He finally stopped at a small corner cafe. His phone had 20 missed calls from his assistant, 3 board members, and a journalist from Forbes. He ignored them all. Instead, he pulled up the security footage again on his tablet, rewatching the moment Elena left Valentina on the bench, watching how the little girl never cried, just sat there, still, quiet, resigned. He clenched his fists. She'd been doing this alone for too long. He picked up his phone. "Get me the best private investigator in the city, tonight." Sir, now." Within the hour, a tall woman in a grey suit and leather gloves sat across from him in the cafe. Her name was Kara Briggs, sharp eyes, calm demeanor, reputation for finding anyone. "I need to find a girl, 12 years old. Name's Valentina Mendez. She's been sleeping on the streets. I think she's in this area." Kara nodded once. "Does she know you're looking for her?" "She ran when I told her I was her father." Kara raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. "Do you have anything personal? Photo, handwriting, belongings?" Nathaniel pulled the wrinkled photo from his pocket and handed it over. "She has a stuffed rabbit, pink and white, looks handmade. I'll start at the shelters, the clinics, the food trucks. If she's been surviving on the streets, someone's seen her." Nathaniel looked out the window, jaw clenched. "She deserves better than this," Kara stood. "She's a fighter. That's how she's made it this far. But if you want her to trust you, don't treat her like a problem to solve." That hit harder than he expected. As she left, Nathaniel remained at the table staring down at the photo. Elena's smile in that picture, he hadn't seen it in so long. There had been so much love in her, and he'd turned away from it all. Maybe because he was afraid of needing something more than success. A memory surfaced suddenly. Elena standing at his apartment door, years ago, looking nervous, like she had something to say but couldn't. He'd been late for a meeting. She'd said, "I'll tell you next time." And there never was a next time. He closed his eyes, breath catching. Later that night, as he returned to the penthouse, a message waited on his phone. From Kara. "I found her." She attached a photo. Valentina sitting behind a food truck, legs tucked beneath her, eating pancakes off a paper plate. Nathaniel stared at the screen, his heart aching. "She's safe," Kara added. "But she told the volunteer not to let anyone near her. She said, 'I don't trust anyone who says they love me if they didn't look for me sooner.'" Nathaniel sat down slowly, and for the first time in years, he cried. Morning broke grey and quiet. Nathaniel hadn't slept. He stared out at the city from his penthouse, the skyline blurred by clouds, his mind heavier than the air outside. He kept reading and rereading Kara's last message, each word hitting him deeper than the last. "I don't trust anyone who says they love me if they didn't look for me sooner." She was right. He had resources most people couldn't dream of, power, influence, entire departments dedicated to tracking, analyzing, solving. But he'd never thought to ask about Elena, not after they broke up. He'd assumed she moved on, started a new life, just like he had. The truth was, she had, and part of that life was Valentina. He hadn't looked because he hadn't known there was something to find. But that excuse felt thinner every minute. His phone buzzed. Kara again. "She's still at the shelter, quiet, keeping to herself. One of the volunteers said she drew something. I asked for a copy." A second later, a picture came through. It was a sketch on crumpled notebook paper. A city skyline drawn with surprising detail. In front of it, a small girl holding a rabbit, sitting on a bench alone. Above her, faint in the clouds, were the shapes of two adults, one with a briefcase, the other with long flowing hair. Nathaniel felt like he'd been punched. He called Kara. "I need to talk to her." "I can arrange that, but she's scared, angry, hurt. If you go in there acting like you're here to fix her life, she'll run again." "I don't want to fix it," he said. "I want to be in it." 2 hours later, he arrived at the shelter, dressed not in a suit but in jeans and a hoodie, trying to look less like the billionaire everyone knew and more like someone who could sit down without walls between them. The shelter was quiet, clean, tucked between a pharmacy and a closed laundromat. He waited in a small side room, nerves coiling in his chest like wires. Then the door opened. Valentina stood there, arms crossed, eyes wary. She looked even smaller in the doorway than he remembered. She didn't speak. Nathaniel stood slowly. "Hey." "Nothing." "I saw your drawing," he said. "It's beautiful." She shifted her weight, but said nothing. "I never stopped thinking about your mother," he went on. "I just didn't know she had you. If I had, I would have looked for you every single day." She looked down. She didn't believe in you. I didn't give her a reason to. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, she whispered, "You're too late." He nodded slowly. "Maybe I am. But if you ever let me, I'd like to be here for whatever time I've got left." She looked up at him, tears balancing at the edge of her lashes. Then, in the smallest voice, "Do you even know my favorite color?" "No," he admitted softly. "But I'd really like to learn." She stared at him for a long beat, then stepped into the room and closed the door behind her. They sat across from each other on mismatched chairs, a small table between them covered in crayons, paper cups, and a half-eaten muffin. The shelter's walls were painted in cheerful colors, but the silence between them remained cautious, fragile. Nathaniel leaned forward slightly. "Can I ask you something?" Valentina shrugged. "Depends. What's your favorite color?" She didn't smile, but her fingers tightened around the cup. "Green, like the inside of limes." He nodded. "That's a good one." She looked at him sideways. "Yours?" "Blue. Deep navy, like the ocean at night." She traced a line on the table with her finger. "You don't talk like rich people do. Maybe because I don't feel like one today." She met his eyes then, and for the first time, there wasn't anger or suspicion, just curiosity. "Did you really love my mom?" He swallowed. "Yes, I did." "Then why'd you leave her?" Nathaniel let out a long breath. "We were young. I was obsessed with building my company. I thought I had to choose between love and success. I didn't understand that the right person wouldn't make me weaker. They'd make me better. By the time I realized it, she was gone." Valentina blinked slowly. "She cried a lot when she thought I was asleep." He closed his eyes for a moment. "I'm so sorry. She always told me I'd grow up strong. She said I had her fire and something else, something she didn't want to talk about. Maybe it was you." Nathaniel's throat tightened. "You're strong, Valentina. But you shouldn't have had to be this strong, this young." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to be. I know." She reached into her backpack and pulled out the stuffed rabbit. "She made this, said it would protect me if she couldn't." Nathaniel stared at the stitching, at the faded thread, the care put into every seam. "I want you to have it," Valentina said suddenly. He looked at her in disbelief. "Are you sure?" "You found me," she said softly. She would have wanted that. He took the rabbit gently, holding it as if it were made of glass. "Thank you. This means everything. I'm not saying I trust you yet," she added quickly, "but I want to see what happens." He smiled. "That's more than I hoped for." Just then, Kara knocked softly and stepped into the room. "Sorry to interrupt. There's someone outside. Says his name is Marcus, the man from yesterday." Valentina stiffened. Nathaniel stood immediately. "What does he want?" "He says he has something to give the girl, and that if you don't let him, he'll go to the press." Valentina's eyes went wide. "No, he's lying." "He always lies." Nathaniel turned to Kara. "Don't let him near her." But Kara's expression had shifted. "He says it's about her birth certificate, and he has proof that you're not the only one who might have a claim to her." Valentina stood up slowly, her voice trembling. "What is he talking about?" Nathaniel didn't answer, because suddenly he wasn't sure he knew either. Nathaniel and Valentina stood side by side in the hallway, the door to the shelter office just a few feet away. Behind it, Marcus waited, smirking, holding some kind of envelope like a weapon. Nathaniel had seen that look before. Not in boardrooms, but in courtrooms. The look of a man who had nothing to lose and everything to stir up. Valentina gripped Nathaniel's sleeve. "I don't want to see him." "You don't have to," he said gently. "Not unless you want to." Kara appeared beside them. "He's saying if we don't hear him out, he'll post the documents online and contact news outlets." Nathaniel clenched his jaw. "Let him. He has nothing." But Kara looked uneasy. "He has something, Mr. Cross. I don't know what yet, but it shook me." Valentina whispered, "I'll go. I need to hear it." Nathaniel turned to her. "You sure?" She nodded. "I don't want any more secrets." Inside the office, Marcus sat like he owned the place. He held the envelope with theatrical flair, tapping it against his palm. "Took you long enough." Nathaniel stood behind Valentina, his presence steady. Marcus slid the envelope across the table. "You think you're her savior. But Elena didn't just keep your name off the birth certificate. She put mine on it." Valentina flinched. Nathaniel stared. "What?" Marcus leaned forward. "I helped her. Gave her a place when you dumped her. You weren't the one holding her hair back when she was sick." "I was." "That doesn't make you her father." "No," Marcus said, eyes glittering. "But legally it might." Nathaniel opened the envelope and pulled out a copy of the birth certificate. There it was. Father's name, Marcus Ray Holden. His stomach dropped. Valentina looked up at Marcus. "You were never my dad. You were just there. Angry, mean. My mom hated you at the end." Marcus shrugged. "Doesn't matter, I signed it. You want to fight, Nathaniel? Courts eat this kind of drama up. Let's see how much you really care when it's messy." Nathaniel stood slowly. "You want money." Marcus smiled. "You think I don't know who you are? Nathaniel Cross, golden boy of Crosstech. If it gets out you have an undocumented daughter you abandoned, it'll tank your press faster than a leaked merger." Valentina spoke up, voice shaking. "She didn't put your name there because you were good. She did it to protect me from him." Marcus stiffened. "You little—" Nathaniel stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Say it again." Marcus backed off, but the smirk never left. "Tick-tock. Your move, hero." As they left the room, Valentina whispered, "What does this mean?" Nathaniel's voice was calm but steel underneath. "It means we're going to fix this. And this time, no one's walking away." But deep down, he knew Marcus had just cracked open a door. One leading into a past even darker than he'd imagined. The next morning, Nathaniel sat in a quiet corner of his office, his usual world of executives, profits, and deals forgotten. Our copy of the birth certificate lay on the desk in front of him, mocking him with every printed word. Marcus Ray Holden. The name didn't belong there. It wasn't just legally inaccurate. It was an insult to the truth. He picked up the phone. "Kara, I want you to dig. Deep. I need to know everything about Marcus. Where he's lived, who he's hurt, and what skeletons he's hiding." Kara didn't hesitate. "Already on it. I've pulled up arrest records, court filings. He's no stranger to trouble." "Good. I want evidence, enough to bury any custody claim he thinks he has." He hung up and turned toward the large window behind his desk. Outside, the city buzzed with life, but all he could see was Valentina's face, torn between fear and fury. He had to protect her. That afternoon, he picked her up from the shelter. She climbed into the back of his SUV without a word. Her rabbit sat in her lap, ears frayed more than ever. She wore the same hoodie and jeans, but her eyes were sharper now, less frightened, more focused. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly. "Somewhere safe," he said. She looked at him. "What's going to happen with Marcus?" Nathaniel kept his eyes on the road. "I'm going to make sure he never gets near you again." Valentina didn't answer. She just stared out the window. They arrived at a discreet townhouse tucked in a gated neighborhood. Not one of Nathaniel's usual penthouses or hotels, but a place with warmth and quiet. A temporary home he'd bought in hours, remodeled in days, and stocked with books, food, and, most importantly, space. Inside, Valentina explored cautiously. She touched the fabric of the sofa, ran her fingers along the kitchen counter, peeked inside the fridge. "You bought this for me?" she asked. "I bought it for us," he corrected. "If you want to stay." She nodded slowly, eyes still guarded. "I don't want him to win. He won't." Later, she sat at the dining table, eating spaghetti while Nathaniel reviewed files across from her. He looked up, watching her twirl the noodles with the kind of concentration only a child can muster. There was something healing in the moment, normal, even fragile. Then her voice broke the silence. What if he's telling the truth? She whispered. What if he really is my father? Nathaniel met her eyes. He's not. But my mom, she let him sign the paper. She was scared, probably desperate. But that paper doesn't change who you are. She looked down. I don't want his name on anything. You won't have to carry it. Just then his phone buzzed with a message from Kara. Got something. You're going to want to see this. Marcus has more secrets than you think. Nathaniel felt his blood turn cold. Because if there was one thing worse than a liar, it was a liar with leverage. Kara arrived just after sunset, her usual calm demeanor replaced with something more urgent. Nathaniel met her at the front door of the townhouse, his face tight with anticipation. Valentina, curled on the living room sofa, peeked over the backrest, clutching her rabbit-like armor. I ran everything on Marcus, Kara said, stepping inside, and I mean everything. Nathaniel motioned her to the dining table. She spread out a folder, thick with documents, court printouts, and photographs. He skimmed through them, his jaw tightening with each page. Assault, restraining orders. He's been in and out of county jail at least 5 times in the last decade, Kara explained. The most recent, less than a year ago, domestic battery. The charges were dropped. Lack of cooperation from the victim. Valentina crept closer, her voice soft. Was it my mom? Kara looked at Nathaniel, hesitated, then nodded. We can't say for certain, but the timeline fits. Elena was admitted to a hospital in the same neighborhood around that time. Broken wrist. Claimed it was a fall. Valentina turned pale. She lied. She was trying to protect you, Nathaniel said gently. Kara pulled out a final document. This is what matters most. The birth certificate was never finalized through a legal court. Marcus's name was handwritten, never verified or notarized. Nathaniel leaned forward. So it's not binding? Exactly. It's not a legal document, which means if we file for custody and petition to establish paternity, you can become her legal guardian. Valentina looked between them. You mean, he can't take me? Not if we move fast, Kara said. But we need something else. A DNA test. Proof that Nathaniel is your biological father. Valentina's face went still. Nathaniel softened his voice. Only if you want to. We can wait. She looked at him, eyes searching. What if I'm not yours? Then I'll still be here, he said. That won't change. She nodded slowly. Okay, let's do it. Kara arranged the test for the next morning. That night, Valentina slept in a real bed for the first time in months. Nathaniel stood outside her door, listening to her quiet breathing, the sound oddly comforting. He returned to the living room and stared at the documents Kara left behind. One photo showed Marcus shouting at someone, his face twisted in rage. Another showed the bruised arm of a woman, the caption redacted. He folded his hands, heart heavy. He had power. He had influence. But none of it meant anything if he couldn't keep her safe. As he turned off the lights, his phone buzzed once more. Another message from Kara. Also found something else. Elena filed a letter of intent before she died, left it at a shelter. It's sealed, but addressed to you. Nathaniel stared at the screen, breath caught in his chest. Elena had tried to reach him from the other side. The following morning was quiet. The sun filtered softly through the townhouse windows, casting golden light across the breakfast table. Valentina sat silently, picking at a bowl of cereal, her expression thoughtful. Nathaniel joined her, setting his phone face down beside his plate. You okay? He asked. She shrugged. I guess. He hesitated. If you want to talk about the test... I know, she interrupted gently. I said I'd do it. I meant it. They drove to a private clinic, low profile and discreet. Valentina sat on the exam chair while a nurse explained the simple cheek swab. She didn't flinch. Nathaniel stood nearby, hands clasped behind his back, trying not to show how tightly wound his nerves were. As soon as it was done, Valentina looked up. How long until we know? 24 hours, the nurse said, sometimes less. Back at the townhouse, Valentina retreated to her room. Nathaniel stayed in the living area, heart still tangled in knots. That's when Kara arrived again, this time with a small sealed envelope in hand. She wrote it shortly before she died, Kara said softly. A volunteer at the shelter said Elena came in trembling. She handed this over and said, "If something happens to me, he needs to know the truth." Then she left. They never saw her again. Nathaniel took the envelope with shaking fingers. His name was written on the front. Just one word, in Elena's handwriting, Nathaniel. He opened it carefully. Inside, a single folded sheet of lined paper, the edges worn, creased from being carried in a pocket. "Nathaniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm sorry. I should have told you a long time ago about Valentina, about everything, but I was scared you wouldn't care, or worse, that you'd take her away and turn her into something cold. But now I'm scared she'll be alone. She's yours. I knew from the moment I heard her heartbeat. I never doubted it. I told her you were too busy, too far away, but I never told her the truth, that I pushed you away before you could even know. I didn't want your pity. I wanted your love. If you still have any left, give it to her. She's brave, fierce, stubborn like me. But she has your eyes, your silence when she's angry. Don't let her think she's unwanted. Don't let her think she's a mistake. Love her. She needs you. Elena." Nathaniel folded the letter slowly, his eyes burning. He walked to Valentina's room. She was sitting cross-legged on the bed, reading. He handed her the note. "Your mom left this for me." She unfolded it with care, eyes scanning the words. Her mouth trembled. When she finished, she didn't say anything. She just leaned into him, resting her head against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her. No more distance, no more delay, no more doubt. The next day arrived like a held breath. Nathaniel waited in the living room, the sealed DNA results envelope sitting untouched on the table. Valentina hadn't come out of her room yet, and he didn't rush her. The weight of the moment was too big for either of them to carry alone. Finally, she stepped out, holding the letter from her mother in one hand. She looked stronger somehow, maybe not less afraid, but more willing to face it. "Is that it?" she asked, nodding toward the envelope. Nathaniel nodded. Valentina sat beside him on the couch. Neither reached for it right away. "Do you want me to open it?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "I want to do it." He handed it to her. She peeled it open slowly, carefully. The papers inside rustled softly as she unfolded them and scanned the words. Her eyes darted back and forth, reading faster and faster, then stopped. A single tear slid down her cheek. "It's you," she whispered. "You're my dad." Nathaniel let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. She looked up at him, smiling through tears. "It's really you." He pulled her into his arms, tighter than before. "I never doubted it, but I'm so glad you know now." They stayed like that for a while, two pieces of a puzzle that had finally painfully clicked together. Later that afternoon, Kara returned with more news. "Marcus is trying to get ahead of the story," she said. "He's approached a tabloid. They're preparing a hit piece on you. Claims you abandoned Elena and Valentina, that you're manipulating the system." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "I expected that. But I also found something else," Kara continued, placing a flash drive on the table. "Surveillance footage from the shelter the night Elena dropped off the letter." He raised an eyebrow. "Why would that matter now?" "Because she wasn't alone when she left. Marcus was there. He followed her." Nathaniel stood. "Show me." Kara plugged in the drive. On the screen, grainy black and white footage played. Elena walked out of the shelter, glancing over her shoulder. Marcus followed a few minutes later. At one point, he grabbed her arm. She shoved him off. He lunged again. The camera caught it all, shoving, yelling, then Elena fleeing. Valentina had walked into the room just in time to see it. Her face went pale. "He chased her?" Kara nodded. "I pulled emergency room records from that night." She checked in with bruises, claimed a fall. Again. Valentina's voice trembled. "He killed her, didn't he?" Nathaniel didn't answer right away. Kara said carefully, "There's no official cause tying him to her death, but the evidence is building. If we go public with this—" "No," Nathaniel cut in. "We don't need a public war." Valentina turned to him. "He has to pay." "He will," Nathaniel said, "but we'll do it the right way, with truth, not headlines." She nodded slowly. Then her voice cracked. "I want my mom to know I'm okay." Nathaniel knelt beside her. "She does, and I promise you, I'll never stop protecting you." But even as he said it, he knew Marcus wasn't finished. Because men like that don't just walk away. They come back one last time when you least expect it. Night fell quietly over the townhouse, the kind of silence that felt more like a warning than peace. Nathaniel double-checked every door, every window. He had hired 2 private security guards to patrol the front and back, but something in his gut wouldn't let him relax. The footage, the threats, the past, it was all circling like a storm that hadn't yet hit. Valentina sat on the floor of the living room, surrounded by old photo albums Nathaniel had pulled from his private storage. Photos of his childhood, of Elena, of Crosstech's early days. He watched her run her fingers over each image, studying them as if trying to find herself in a world she'd never known. "Were you always like this?" she asked quietly. "Like what?" "Alone. Even when you were winning." He sat on the couch behind her. "I didn't know I was alone until recently." She nodded slowly, not looking up. Then came a knock, sharp, sudden. Nathaniel stood instantly. One of the guards opened the door, and there he was. Marcus, not in leather this time, in a suit. Clean-shaven, holding a file under his arm. "I came to make peace," he said, voice calm, polite even. Valentina stood, eyes wide with disbelief. "You're not supposed to be here." Nathaniel stepped forward, voice cold. "Get off my property." Marcus held up a hand. "Wait, just listen. 1 minute, that's all I ask." Kara appeared from the hallway, her phone already out, silently recording. "I'm dropping everything," Marcus said. "No custody claim, no press, nothing." Nathaniel narrowed his eyes. "Why?" "Because I'm not the villain here. Elena used me too. You think I chased her down to hurt her? I was trying to stop her from leaving again. She said she needed to protect the kid, but she never told me why. Never told me who you really were." He held out the file. "There's a letter in here from her. Not to you, to me." Nathaniel didn't move. Valentina did. She snatched the file and opened it. Inside was another handwritten note. Elena's handwriting again. "Marcus, you scare me. You love me in ways that feel like chains, but you helped me when I had nothing, and for that I'm grateful. Please don't try to raise her. You don't understand her fire, and you'll smother it. Let her go. Let her be something more than us. This isn't a punishment, it's mercy. Goodbye." Valentina read it 3 times. Then, with trembling hands, she held it out to Marcus. "She asked you to leave me alone." Marcus's jaw flexed. "I never meant to hurt her." "You did," she said softly. "And I'm not afraid of you anymore." He looked at Nathaniel. "I'm done fighting, I just want to disappear." Nathaniel didn't flinch. "Then do it. If I ever see you again, I'll bury you legally and publicly." Marcus turned, defeated, and walked into the night. The door shut. Valentina leaned against it, breathing hard. Nathaniel approached. "You okay?" She nodded, tears finally falling. "Yeah, I think I am now." But as he wrapped his arms around her, holding her tight, he couldn't shake the feeling that Marcus had left too easily, like he was still holding one last card. The next few days brought a calm Nathaniel wasn't sure he trusted. Valentina was beginning to adjust. She slept through the night, started asking questions about school, and even laughed once while they made pancakes. She kept the rabbit nearby, but didn't cling to it like armor anymore. Something had shifted. A weight had lifted. But Nathaniel couldn't stop checking the windows. He reviewed every bit of legal paperwork with Kara. They'd filed for guardianship, submitted DNA confirmation. Every move Marcus had threatened to make had been shut down, silenced with evidence, facts, and truth. Still, Nathaniel felt it, the sense that they were only halfway through the storm. One morning, as Valentina worked on a sketch at the kitchen table, Kara arrived with a pale look in her eyes. "We need to talk," she said. Nathaniel followed her into the den. She shut the door behind them. "I got a ping from one of my contacts in the city courthouse," she said. "Marcus didn't walk away. He filed something yesterday, quietly." "What?" "An appeal to delay your guardianship hearing, based on a sealed case." Nathaniel's blood ran cold. "What kind of case?" "Juvenile Protection Services, from when Valentina was a baby." He stared at her. "I didn't know there was one." "Neither did I. But it's real. And sealed tight. Someone filed for protective custody of Valentina when she was barely 6 months old." Nathaniel leaned against the wall. "Elena never said anything." Kara nodded. "She probably wanted it buried. But now Marcus is trying to unseal it. If he gets access to those records, he might find a technicality. Anything to stall you, discredit you, or reopen his claim." Nathaniel looked toward the kitchen, where Valentina was still drawing. "What could possibly be in those records?" "We won't know until we see them." He turned back to her. "Get them." It took hours of calls, favors, and pressure from high-powered lawyers. But by nightfall, Kara placed a slim manila folder on the table. Nathaniel opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a single-page report from a state caseworker, dated 12 years ago. "Child removed from unsafe home following domestic violence call. Mother uncooperative but admitted to fearing for the child's safety. Temporary protective order filed. Father unknown. Child later returned to mother after 6 weeks in emergency foster care." Nathaniel felt the floor shift beneath him. "She lost Valentina," he whispered, "even if just for a while." Kara nodded. "That's what Marcus wants to use, that Elena wasn't a fit mother, that she lied to the system, that she exposed Valentina to danger." Nathaniel's chest tightened. "But she got her back." "Yes, because she cleaned up, because she fought for her. But you know how this works, Nathaniel. If Marcus spins this in court, he'll make Elena look unstable. And if he paints you as someone who ignored all of it for years..." Nathaniel rubbed his face. "We need a judge who understands what kind of man he really is." "We need more than that," Kara said. "We need someone to speak for Elena." Valentina's voice echoed from the kitchen. "Speak for her how?" They turned. She stood in the doorway, holding the rabbit in one hand and her drawing in the other. "You mean someone who actually knew her?" Kara hesitated. "Yes." Valentina stepped forward. "Then let me do it." Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes were clear. "She was my mum. I remember everything." Nathaniel knelt beside her, heart pounding. "Valentina, you don't have to do this. We can fight this without putting you in the middle." But she stood firm. "He's trying to erase her. Make people think she was a bad mom." Kara stepped forward. "Testimonies from minors can be powerful but risky. Judges don't always listen, especially if the child is emotional." Valentina crossed her arms. "Then I'll be calm. I'll be clear. I'm not scared anymore." Nathaniel looked at her and saw Elena, her fierce eyes, her spine of iron, the way she never backed down when it mattered. Valentina was her mother's daughter. "Okay," he said softly. "We'll do it together." The next few days were a blur of preparation. Kara coached Valentina on how to speak in court, how to stay focused, how to answer questions without letting Marcus's lawyer twist her words. Nathaniel watched her absorb everything with a quiet intensity that startled even him. Meanwhile, he worked behind the scenes. He used every connection he had to submit character statements, gather witness accounts, and paint the full picture of who Marcus really was, his history, his outbursts, his manipulation. The case was shaping into a storm, and Nathaniel could feel the pressure building. The morning of the hearing arrived grey and still. Valentina wore a navy blue dress that she had picked out herself. Her rabbit stayed in her backpack, tucked beside a copy of her mother's letter. Nathaniel adjusted his tie in the mirror. nerves tighter than any board meeting he'd ever faced. They arrived at the courthouse early. Kara met them with a reassuring nod. Inside the courtroom, Marcus was already seated with his lawyer. He wore another clean-cut suit, but the slickness couldn't hide the venom in his eyes when he saw Valentina walk in beside Nathaniel. The judge was a woman in her 60s, stern but not unkind. She glanced through the thick file in front of her, then looked up. "Mr. Holden, you filed for delay of guardianship based on prior protective services involvement." His lawyer stood. "Yes, Your Honor. We believe there are significant concerns about the child's past environment and the fitness of both the deceased mother and the proposed guardian, Mr. Cross." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Cross is the biological father, verified through DNA." "Yes, but he was absent for the child's entire life, only entering recently and coincidentally, after gaining access to wealth and publicity." Nathaniel stayed silent, jaw tight. Then Kara rose. "Your Honor, we intend to present first-hand testimony to address the concerns raised. The child herself has requested to speak." The judge considered. "Is she present?" Valentina stood slowly. Her small frame seemed even smaller in the heavy silence of the courtroom. "Come forward, Miss Mendez." She walked to the witness stand. The clerk swore her in. She sat, hands folded neatly in her lap. The judge smiled slightly. "You wanted to speak for your mother?" Valentina nodded. "Yes, Your Honor, because she can't defend herself. But I can." She cleared her throat, then took a deep breath. "My mom wasn't perfect. She made mistakes. But she loved me. She protected me. She sang to me when I had nightmares. She skipped meals so I could eat. She got hurt because she tried to keep bad people away, including him." She pointed toward Marcus without hesitation. "He didn't raise me. He scared me. My mom made me sleep with a chair against the door when he was angry." Marcus flinched. His lawyer whispered furiously. Valentina turned back to the judge. "And Mr. Cross didn't know about me. But now he does, and he stayed every day since. He didn't buy me toys or promises. He just showed up, like my mom said he would, if he ever found out." The judge leaned forward. "And do you want him to be your legal guardian?" Valentina nodded. "Yes. I want to stay with my real dad." The room went quiet. Nathaniel sat frozen, a single tear escaping down his cheek. The judge sat back, thoughtful. "Thank you, Miss Mendez. You were very brave." She turned to the court. "I will now review all submitted evidence and deliver a ruling by end of day." As they walked out of the courtroom, Marcus passed them in the hallway. His voice was low, bitter. "You think this is over?" Nathaniel stared him down. "No. I think it's just beginning." Back at the townhouse, the silence was heavy but calm, like the eye of a storm. Valentina lay curled on the couch, emotionally drained, her rabbit tucked under her chin. Nathaniel sat nearby, watching her sleep, every part of him replaying her words from the stand. Brave, fierce, unshakable. Kara sat across from him, sipping cold coffee. "She saved you in there." He nodded slowly. "I've built billion-dollar empires, closed deals with world leaders, but nothing compares to that moment." Kara glanced at her phone. "We should hear the ruling by this afternoon." Nathaniel rubbed his face. "And Marcus?" "He's still circling. I pulled new footage. He was seen meeting with a known gossip columnist last week." Nathaniel groaned. "Of course he was." "He's desperate," Kara said. "But we've cut off every legal path he has." Nathaniel stood, pacing. "That won't stop him from trying to destroy what's left of Elena's reputation." Kara hesitated. "There's one more thing, something you need to know." He turned. "What?" She pulled out a USB drive. "The shelter Elena visited? I dug deeper. She didn't just leave the letter, she left a phone, old, broken, but it still had one video on it." Nathaniel took the drive with trembling hands and plugged it into his laptop. A few seconds later, Elena's face appeared on screen. Hollow cheeks, tired eyes, but still beautiful. She was sitting in a dimly lit room, whispering into the camera like someone terrified of being heard. "If anything happens to me, this is for Valentina. And for Nathaniel. I know I should have done this sooner, but I was scared. Marcus knows too much. He says if I go to court, he'll ruin me. But he's dangerous. He hit me. He lied to the state about being Valentina's father just to keep me trapped." Nathaniel's fists clenched. "I never wanted her to grow up afraid. I wanted her to be strong, to be loved. And if you're seeing this, it means I didn't make it. Nathaniel, she's yours. She always has been. And I pray to God you find her in time." The screen went black. Nathaniel exhaled slowly. Kara's voice was quiet. "That's a confession, and it's enough to press charges. I don't want a war," he said. "You might not have a choice." That afternoon the call came in. Kara answered, then handed the phone to Nathaniel. He listened silently, his expression unreadable. Then he hung up and turned to Valentina, who was now sitting up, eyes wide. "What did they say?" she asked. He smiled softly. "The judge granted full guardianship. You're officially with me now." Valentina let out a choked laugh and rushed into his arms. "I'm staying?" "You're home," he whispered. "For good." But just as he said the words, a sharp crash shattered the moment, glass exploding from the front window. Someone had thrown a rock, wrapped in a cloth, through the glass. Kara ran to it, unwrapping the bundle. Inside was a note, scrawled in thick, angry ink. "You might have her now, but I still have the truth." Nathaniel stared at the broken glass, and for the first time, fear crept back in. Glass crunched beneath Nathaniel's shoes as he stepped carefully into the living room, eyes scanning the broken window. Valentina stood frozen, clutching her rabbit, her breath short and sharp. Kara knelt beside the rock, examining the note again under a flashlight. "He's escalating," she said grimly. "This isn't a threat, it's a warning." Nathaniel picked up the note himself, reading the jagged letters once more. "I still have the truth." "What truth? What card did Marcus think he could still play?" Valentina's voice was small. "Are we safe here?" Nathaniel turned to her, steadying his voice. "Yes, you are. I promise." But even as he said it, he was already reaching for his phone. He made 3 calls, one to private security, doubling the guards around the property, one to Kara's tech team, requesting surveillance drones for the next 72 hours, and one to a former judge he trusted, asking for advice on filing a restraining order with the new evidence. Then he turned back to Valentina. "Pack a bag, just for tonight. We're going somewhere else." "Where?" "Somewhere no one knows about." They moved fast, taking only what they needed. Nathaniel loaded her into the back seat of a black SUV and drove them through the city, past downtown lights, past the limits of what was familiar. Finally, they arrived at a private estate just outside the city, a quiet, ivy-covered villa Nathaniel had bought years ago for weekends he never took. It was quiet, gated, and unreachable, the kind of place not even Marcus could find. Inside, Valentina wandered through the house, wide-eyed. "This is yours?" "It's ours now." She sat on the edge of a plush guest bed, her rabbit resting on her knees. "He's not going to stop, is he?" Nathaniel sat beside her. "He's trying to scare us, but I won't let him hurt you. He said he still has the truth." "I know." "What if it's something about me?" Nathaniel turned to her, eyes locked on hers. "Valentina, I don't care what Marcus says. Nothing he reveals changes what I know. You are my daughter. You are brave. You are worthy. And you are mine." Her eyes filled. "But what if it's about my mum?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "Your mother already told us everything that matters. She loved you. She protected you. She died trying to make sure you'd be okay." Valentina reached for his hand. "I just want to be normal, like other kids." "You will be, I promise." That night, she slept beside him on the couch in the estate's library, curled up beneath a heavy blanket while he watched the security feed on his laptop. Kara called near midnight. "I think I know what he's trying to do," she said. Nathaniel leaned forward. What? He contacted a lawyer, a shady one. He's planning to sue you for wrongful concealment of paternity. It's obscure, but if he wins, he could claim damages, publicly humiliate you, disrupt custody again. Nathaniel closed his eyes. He's not just trying to win, he's trying to destroy everything. Kara paused. He doesn't want Valentina. No, Nathaniel said bitterly. He wants revenge. And somewhere, deep down, he knew Marcus was saving one final blow, the kind you don't see coming until it's too late. The next morning dawned cool and silent over the estate, mist curling through the trees like ghosts refusing to fade. Nathaniel stood on the terrace, sipping coffee, jaw tense. The weight of Marcus's looming threat hung heavy in the air. Every time he thought the past had surrendered, it clawed back with something darker. Inside, Valentina was quiet. She ate breakfast without a word, eyes fixed on the glass doors, rabbit clutched tight. Then Kara arrived, early, urgent. He filed it, she said, stepping inside. Wrongful concealment of paternity. He's not claiming custody anymore. He's suing you for emotional damage, slander, and public defamation. Nathaniel barely blinked. How? He's claiming you knew about Valentina, ignored her, and then manipulated the system to discredit him. That's insane. It is, Kara agreed. But it's enough to get attention. Headlines, he wants a settlement. He's baiting you into paying him off. Nathaniel's voice was ice. I won't give him a cent. He's also subpoenaing Elena's full medical records, everything, including her therapy sessions. Nathaniel's hands curled into fists. He wants to dig up her pain, use it against her. Valentina walked in just as he said it. She looked up. What does that mean? Nathaniel hesitated. It means he's trying to say your mom was unfit. That she was unstable. She wasn't, Valentina said, voice hard. I know. She got therapy because she wanted to be better, not because she was weak. Nathaniel knelt beside her. You don't have to do anything, okay? You don't have to carry this. She held up her rabbit. I'm not scared of him anymore. He's just noise. Kara nodded in approval. She's stronger than both of us. Nathaniel looked at her. So, what's our next move? Kara pulled out her tablet. We fight this in court. Publicly if we have to, but we also go on offense. I found a therapist Eleanor saw, Dr. Meredith Lowe. She's willing to testify. Said Eleanor was one of the most determined, loving mothers she ever worked with. That's perfect. Kara's expression turned grim. There's one more thing. She slid a document across the table. A notarized affidavit from someone named Tomas Mendez. Elena's older brother, Kara explained. He disappeared years ago, but he resurfaced. Says Marcus tried to blackmail him, offered him cash to lie, say Nathaniel was abusive. Tomas refused. Instead, he came to us. Nathaniel read the statement. His hands trembled. Tomas described years of Elena hiding from Marcus, moving apartments, changing jobs, even turning down Nathaniel's attempts to contact her years ago because Marcus had threatened to hurt Valentina if she reached out. I never got those messages, Nathaniel murmured. He must have intercepted everything. Valentina whispered, he kept you away on purpose. Nathaniel nodded, pain rippling through him, and she died carrying that secret. Kara's phone buzzed. She checked it. Her eyes widened. It's happening. What is? He leaked it. Marcus leaked the entire false lawsuit to the press. Headlines are already spinning. Nathaniel grabbed his phone. The first article was already trending. Tech CEO accused of abandoning secret daughter while smearing innocent man. Valentina stared at the screen. Then she looked at him. What are we going to do? Nathaniel met her eyes. We're going to end this, he said. Not just legally, not just quietly. We're going to show the world exactly who your mother was, and exactly who we are. Nathaniel stood before a sea of microphones, cameras flashing from every direction. The press conference had been arranged in less than 12 hours. Kara's media team worked overnight, crafting every word, vetting every source. Now Nathaniel was center stage, not as a CEO but as a father. Behind him, a large screen displayed a single image: Eleanor holding baby Valentina in her arms, her eyes bright despite the faded hospital gown. Her strength radiated through the photo. Nathaniel cleared his throat and leaned into the mic. "Good morning. I don't normally speak publicly about personal matters, but when someone threatens my family, spreads lies about the people I love, and weaponizes the truth, I have no choice." He looked out at the rows of reporters. "My name is Nathaniel Cross. I am the father of Valentina Elena Mendez, and I am proud of that truth." Murmurs swept the room. "I did not abandon her," he continued. "I didn't know she existed until recently, but once I did, I dropped everything, because no success, no company, no dollar earned matters more than being a father." He motioned to Kara, who brought forward a printed document. "This is a video statement from Elena Mendez, recorded shortly before her death. In it, she confirms everything: that I was unaware of the pregnancy, that she feared retaliation from a man named Marcus Holden, and that she did everything she could to keep her daughter safe." He paused. "She also confirms something else: that Marcus manipulated her, that he used threats, violence, and deception to control her, that he falsely inserted himself into Valentina's life and later attempted to profit off her pain." He clicked a remote. A clip played on the screen, a short, grainy video of Eleanor's trembling confession. The room fell silent. When it ended, Nathaniel continued. "This man is now suing me for wrongful concealment of paternity. He claims emotional damage. Let me be clear. The only damage done was to a young girl forced to grow up too fast, and to a woman who carried her alone because she feared the truth wouldn't protect her." Another slide appeared, Tomas Mendez's sworn affidavit. "Elena's brother has also come forward. He was bribed, he refused, and he confirmed the same story: that Marcus was dangerous, that he threatened to harm Valentina if Elena ever tried to contact me." Nathaniel leaned forward. "This ends now." He looked directly at the cameras. "I am pursuing legal action against Marcus Holden for harassment, defamation, and attempted coercion. I'm working with state prosecutors to have him investigated for obstruction and witness tampering." He paused. "But more than that, I'm asking you to see the woman at the center of this story, not just as a victim, but as a mother, a fighter, a protector." Then his voice softened. "And I want you to meet her daughter." The cameras shifted as Valentina stepped onto the stage beside him, her rabbit in one hand, chin lifted high. She stood at the microphone. "My name is Valentina. I'm not a secret. I'm not a headline. I'm just a girl who finally found her dad." Her voice didn't shake. "And I'm not afraid of the truth." The press erupted in questions, but Nathaniel raised a hand and guided Valentina gently away from the podium. He wasn't going to let them turn this into spectacle. Not this time. Kara stepped in swiftly, issuing a firm statement to the reporters. "No further comments today. Legal action is underway. All documents will be made public by the end of the week." Inside the car, Valentina slumped against her seat, eyes wide. "Did I sound okay?" Nathaniel turned to her, his expression soft. "You sounded perfect." She smiled, but it faded quickly. "Do you think people will believe us?" "They already do. I could see it on their faces." Back at the estate, the mood shifted from tense to focused. Kara was already on her laptop, monitoring news outlets and social media. "Public reaction is swinging our way," she said. "Every major outlet is quoting Valentina's line, 'I'm not afraid of the truth.' It's trending." Nathaniel exhaled. "Good. But Marcus won't back down easily. He's quiet right now, but I guarantee he's preparing a response." And he was. That evening, a video surfaced. Marcus sitting in a dimly lit room, tone low and calculated. "I never hurt Elena. I only ever wanted to protect her and her daughter. This is a smear campaign by a billionaire trying to save face. He abandoned them both, and now he's rewriting history." He smirked at the camera. "I'll see you in court." Nathaniel watched the footage in silence. Valentina stood behind him, arms crossed. "I don't care what he says," she whispered. "I know, but other people might." Kara entered the room. We have to be ready. The judge set the first hearing date for next week. Nathaniel nodded. Then let's prepare. Everything we've got. Valentina glanced up. Will I have to go? No, Nathaniel said. Not unless you want to. I do. He looked at her. I want to be there when we win, she said. For my mum. They spent the next days in preparation. Lawyers assembled testimony, video evidence, and character witnesses. Kara secured a forensic psychologist who reviewed Elena's therapy files and confirmed a pattern consistent with abuse and coercion. Tomas was flown in under tight security, ready to testify. And through it all, Nathaniel and Valentina built something more precious than any legal victory: trust. She started calling him Dad more often, first in passing, then with purpose. She asked him to teach her chess. He read her favorite book aloud at night. They cooked, badly, and laughed through burnt eggs and undercooked pasta. They were becoming what they'd never had: a family. The night before the hearing, Valentina knocked on Nathaniel's study door. He looked up from a folder, surprised. She held something out, a folded paper. I wrote something, she said. He unfolded it. It was a letter. If I could talk to the judge again, I'd say this. My mom was brave. She fought every day. Mr. Holden made her life scary, but she never stopped loving me. She gave me everything she had. Now I'm asking you to let me stay with someone who does the same. My dad. He's the only real thing I've ever had. Nathaniel blinked fast. You want me to give this to the judge? Valentina nodded. If you think it'll help. He knelt and pulled her into a hug. I think it's everything. But neither of them knew. Marcus still had one last surprise. The morning of the hearing, the courthouse buzzed with tension. Reporters lined the sidewalk, cameras flashing as Nathaniel and Valentina stepped from the black SUV. Kara walked beside them, firm and watchful, while Tomas trailed behind, nervous but resolute. Inside, the courtroom was already packed. Marcus sat smugly at the defense table, his lawyer whispering something that made him smirk. He wore a new suit, clean-shaven again, his image sharpened for sympathy. Nathaniel sat down beside his legal team, Valentina holding his hand tightly. Then the judge entered, an older man with sharp eyes and a reputation for zero tolerance toward manipulation. The room settled into silence. Court is now in session, the bailiff announced. The judge began briskly. We are here to evaluate Mr. Holden's claim of wrongful concealment and to examine whether his suit holds merit, considering the submitted evidence from both parties. Marcus's lawyer rose first. Your Honor, my client was intentionally kept from a child he believed to be his daughter. He provided support to her mother, was listed on the birth certificate, and was later defamed by Mr. Cross in the public sphere. Nathaniel remained stone-faced. Then Kara's team rose. They laid out the facts: DNA results, Elena's video testimony, the therapist's sworn statement, Tomas's affidavit. They showed footage of Marcus harassing Elena, the restraining orders, the ER reports. Each piece fell into place like the tightening of a net. Finally, Tomas was called to the stand. He trembled at first, but steadied himself. Elena was scared of Marcus. He broke things. He broke people. She ran from him more than once. Did she ever mention Mr. Cross? The attorney asked. Yes, she said she'd loved him, that she made a mistake not telling him. And why didn't she? She said Marcus threatened to hurt Valentina if she reached out. The courtroom buzzed. Marcus's lawyer objected, but the judge overruled. Then came the surprise. Marcus stood. Your Honor, I request to present new evidence. The judge raised a brow. What kind of evidence? A personal recording, Marcus said, his voice suddenly shaking. From Elena, one she sent to me, just days before she died. Nathaniel stiffened. The judge nodded cautiously. Proceed. Marcus's lawyer handed over a USB. It played on the overhead screen. Elena's face appeared, tired, scared, alone. I don't know who to trust anymore, she whispered. Nathaniel doesn't even know. Marcus says he can help, but I don't think he can. I don't know who's lying anymore. I just want my daughter to be safe." The screen went black. The courtroom exploded in murmurs. The judge raised a hand. "Enough." Kara stood immediately. "Your Honor, we challenge the authenticity of that video. There's no metadata, no timestamp. It directly contradicts the sworn testimony, medical reports, and prior video." The judge nodded. "I'll take it into consideration." Then he motioned to the bailiff, "Bring me the girl." Valentina stood slowly. She walked to the stand. Valentina stepped onto the witness stand, shoulders straight, chin high, but her fingers trembled as she took the oath. The judge watched her with quiet intensity, the weight of truth filling the air. She sat down and glanced at Nathaniel, his nod grounding her. "Miss Mendez," the judge began, "you've already spoken once, but I'd like to hear from you directly. Do you understand the seriousness of this case?" "Yes, Your Honor," she said clearly. "And are you here of your own will?" She nodded. "Yes." He leaned forward. "Tell me what you remember about your life with your mother and about Mr. Holden." Valentina took a deep breath. "My mum was strong," she began, "but scared. She smiled in front of people, but when we were alone, she locked the doors, checked the windows 3 times. We moved a lot. She always said it was for work, but it was because of him." She glanced toward Marcus, who shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "He was angry all the time. I remember loud yelling, holes in the wall. One night my mom came out of the bathroom with blood on her face. She said she slipped. But I knew." The courtroom was silent. "I remember hiding under the bed with my rabbit. She would come and whisper that it was going to be okay. She'd hold me so tight I couldn't breathe, but I didn't care. It made me feel safe." She paused, her voice faltering. "She was scared, but she never stopped fighting for me." The judge nodded solemnly. "And what about Mr. Cross?" Valentina looked at Nathaniel. "I didn't know him before, but since he found me, he's been there every day. He listens. He doesn't yell. He lets me talk about my mom without getting mad or sad or weird." She looked back at the judge. "He's not trying to be perfect. He just stays, and that's more than anyone else ever did." The judge was quiet, processing her words. Then he asked, "Is there anything else you want this court to understand?" Valentina reached into her pocket and pulled out her letter. "This is something I wrote for the judge, for my mom." He gestured. "Please read it." She unfolded it, her voice steady. "If I could talk to the judge again, I'd say this. My mom was brave. She fought every day. Mr. Holden made her life scary, but she never stopped loving me. She gave me everything she had. Now, I'm asking you to let me stay with someone who does the same. My dad. He's the only real thing I've ever had." When she finished, the silence was absolute. The judge closed his file slowly. "You may step down," he said. Valentina walked back to her seat. Nathaniel reached out and she took his hand tightly. The judge looked at both sides. "I will issue my ruling now." Every breath in the courtroom held. "In light of the overwhelming evidence, sworn testimony, and statements presented, I find Mr. Holden's claims to be without merit and rooted in manipulation, not truth." He turned to Marcus. "Your case is dismissed. Any attempt to reopen it without new verifiable evidence will be considered harassment." Then looking to Nathaniel and Valentina, he added, "Guardianship stands permanently, and this court will refer Mr. Holden for criminal investigation regarding multiple counts of perjury and witness intimidation." Gasps rippled through the room. Marcus stood, face red with rage. "This isn't over." But the bailiff was already moving to escort him out. Valentina leaned into Nathaniel. "Is it really done?" she whispered. He smiled through misted eyes. "It's done, sweetheart." And for the first time in her life, Valentina truly believed it. The days that followed felt like the first pages of a new life. News of the court ruling spread fast. The tabloids that once speculated and smeared now corrected themselves. Some even apologized. Headlines shifted from scandal to redemption. Tech CEO's secret daughter finds justice. Valentina's voice silences lies, truth, family, and a father who stayed. But Nathaniel didn't care about headlines anymore. All that mattered was the girl now calling his house her home. They returned to the estate not as fugitives, but as a family. The first night back, Valentina walked through every room without flinching. She unpacked her clothes, placed her rabbit on her bed, not beside her, but watching from the windowsill. Nathaniel passed by her room and found her sketching. "What are you drawing?" he asked. She held up the page. It was a picture of a bench at a bus stop. But this time the girl on it wasn't alone. A man sat beside her, holding her hand. "I redrew it," she said, "because the story changed." He sat beside her. "Yes, it did." She looked up. "Do you think Mom knows?" He nodded. "I think she knew before we did." Weeks passed. They adopted routines. Homework in the morning, walks in the garden, late-night movies on the couch. Nathaniel kept working, but never let it swallow him again. He cleared his schedule every day by 5. Made time for dinners, for talks, for silence when Valentina just needed to sit and be held. Sometimes they visited Elena's old neighborhood, brought flowers to the shelter, donated in her name, quiet tributes that only the two of them understood. Then, one day, Valentina asked, "Can I change my name?" Nathaniel blinked. "What do you mean?" "I want to keep Mendez, for Mom, but I want to add yours too." He swallowed. "You don't have to." "I know, but I want to." A week later, the papers were signed. Valentina Elena Mendez Cross. On her 13th birthday, they held a small celebration. Just them, Cara, Tomas, and a few friends she'd made in her new school. No cameras, no press, just laughter, candles, and a cake with green frosting, her favorite color. As the night ended, Valentina sat on the porch, watching the stars. Nathaniel joined her. "You okay?" She nodded. "Just thinking." "About what?" She turned to him, her voice soft. "How everything almost didn't happen." He wrapped an arm around her. "But it did." She leaned against him. "I think she waited, Mom, until you found me. I think she held on just long enough." Nathaniel looked up at the stars. "Then she gave you to me." They sat there, wrapped in the quiet miracle of survival, of healing, of second chances. And for the first time in a long, long while, there was no more running, no more fear, no more secrets, just the truth and love, finally safe. Finally home.